they'll know that you are a pathological atheist, and therefore the thought of death is very final for you. For me, as a good Irish Catholic boy, it's the start of something new and glorious. For you, that's it.
For me, it's the end of something glorious, so I have to pack it all in. But, you know, I'm not depressed about it. I don't want to die any more than anyone else. And I think there's this strange myth that atheists have nothing to live for. It's the opposite. We have nothing to die for.
You have more to live for.
We have everything to live for.
Yes. Yeah. I would imagine you have a more focused attention to life because you think it ends when you die.
I think it's precious. I think it's beautiful. I think the world is amazing. I love people, animals, art, every hobby. I can't believe my luck that I'm alive for these 70 or 80 years. Might be less. Wait, you know, I'm not long for this world. Our religious intolerance, this arrogance that you think, you know, arguing over whose God is right, sort of gets me down a little bit, you know. And I've got no problem with spirituality. I really haven't. You know, that's another myth. And I always try and make the difference clear between spirituality and religion. One is a very personal feeling, a journey, a hope, or whatever, a need, you know, a joy, and the other is an organised body that uses that for power and corruption in many cases. In many cases,
the idea that people cannot comprehend the idea of oblivion, of the fact that once they die, there's no more me. How do you, because you're one of the happiest people I know. That puts me into a funk, a mourning of myself.
If my mom had lived, she would be 101 years old today. I loved my mom tremendously. We were very, very close. What you are proposing when you say that there is an omniscient, omnipresent, omnipotent power in the universe, you are saying that there was something, an intelligent force in the universe that decided my mom should be paralyzed the last 4 years of her life and suffer. I can take the fact that happened to her randomly. I can take the fact that the universe works that way. Trying to postulate some sort of being that chose my mom to suffer is more horrific than any hell or any emptiness in the universe that you can possibly conjure up. That's the emotional argument. The intellectual argument is when people ask me why I'm an atheist, I answer because there's no God. And that's not a snotty answer. The answer is not how you feel or what you want to believe. Although wanting to believe that there is an omniscient force in the universe that wanted to make my mother suffer is horrific. The truth is we have no evidence of that. Richard Feynman, a Nobel Prize-winning physicist, said that if he had to face God, they asked him, what would you say to God about being an atheist? And Richard Feynman responded, you should have given us better evidence. There just isn't that much evidence. So the joy of being an atheist is the joy that what we have is each other and love. And my mom gave me so, and my dad too, and my sister, gave me so much unconditional, beautiful, beautiful love that to ask for something beyond that in the universe is greedy, unpleasant, and petulant.
Well, and also it's like not only condescending, but it's also really convenient to do the old caveat, which is, well, the Lord works in mysterious ways. Like, yeah, really, that's not mysterious. That just sucks.
That's a real cop-out. And I also think that it makes us think about how valuable life is and how well we have to treat each other.
Yeah, you're right.
And it talks about the preciousness of what we have right now. And when people say to me that they can't understand how I could be an atheist, I feel this sadness because I feel, well, don't you have enough love from your family and your friends? Don't you have enough love flooding in that you have to try to get it somewhere else? I mean, no matter how much love you can postulate a God having, it's not as great as the love that my family had for me.
How many times have you heard someone say, some idiot fundamentalist say, well, Hitler was atheist?
Oh, God, yeah.
Well, it makes no difference. There are good and bad atheists. There are good and bad people who believe in God. But very few atheists kill in the name of atheism.
Exactly.
It's an irrelevance to me. I hate being labelled an atheist because it's not how I live my life. I don't live my life going around going,
I'm an atheist. I'm an atheist.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
No, there's billions of other aspects to my life, why I do things. It just, when God's brought into the equation, I don't take that on board. I don't do anything because of God's watching me, or because I feel God owns anything, or God's driving me. It's a strange word, and it's a strange label. You know, they're clutching at straws.
Yes.
They're clutching at straws. They don't like atheists. No. I mean, we're at the top of the tree. We're white, middle-aged, Western men, but we blew it because we're atheists. So we're the most hated, oppressed people on the planet.
There are things that you say that I do not believe, not because I am convinced you're wrong, but because I don't understand them sufficiently to say that I believe them.
Well, here's your first problem. You should never use the word believe.
But...
No, never use the word believe. No. At least a scientist should never use the word believe, because things are either likely or unlikely. And that's it. We don't believe anything. I certainly don't believe anything.
Are you convinced that something's likely?
No, I have to be convinced that something's likely by the evidence.
By belief, belief is the state of being convinced that something is likely.
Well, if you want to call that, but I think, and I think you're right in a general sense. But I have a problem with using words that have a lot of emotional baggage associated with them.
Me too.
Yeah. Okay.
But I'm okay with belief because I think we can make a good case for using it. That there's a distinction between I am convinced this is the case, which is a fine way to say it. You don't have to say belief. But if you're consistent about using the word belief,
I'll buy that. I just think it's fine as long as
another debate.
No. Actually, I was going to point out it's okay as long as scientists don't use the word.
Yeah.
I mean, heathens like you could know. I mean,
philosophy heathens.
Yeah, philosophy heathens. No, but I think it's important. And scientists can use the word in a popular context, but never in the context of science. And it's taken me a long time. I still sometimes do it. You know, but it's really important that we point out the belief, at least in science, that religious sense of belief, the faith in things unseen and unmeasured, is not really there. Now, even that, of course, is not 100% true, because if you're a theoretical physicist or an experimental physicist working 25 years on an idea, you have some faith that it might be true, and you wouldn't be able to spend it. But hold on, but there's a fundamental difference in that sense that the faith is eminently shakable. That's the great thing about science, is because the minute you have that idea and you've worked on it for 20 years and you find out it's not true, you just throw it out like yesterday's newspaper. You don't hang on to it and cut heads off or anything like that.
So what he is trying to do is pretend that we all have faith. Scientists have faith and they have faith. Because what they're saying is we are convinced of things in the absence of absolute certainty, and that's what they want faith to be.
Yeah.
The problem is the things they are convinced of in the absence of absolute certainty, they have no good reason for. And the things that scientists are convinced of in the absence of absolute certainty, they have very good reasons to. And so when I say I don't have faith in anything, I have reasonable confidence in things based on previous experience and evidence. So in the same way that
likely or unlikely?
Yes. I don't use the faith word.
Yes.
I fight against it. I'm okay with the belief word as long as we define it specifically as I'm convinced of something.
Okay, so that's a great semantic discussion.
I'll call it a tie.
When someone's arguing with me that the Earth is 5,000 years old, yes, I'm smiling. Yeah, of course I'm smiling. You know, the fundamentalist view of the creation of the Earth is rather like an episode of the Flintstones. So I have to laugh at those sort of things.
How does your atheism, which you're passionate about, how does that play with your American audience, given that so many people in America are God-fearing people and probably take exception to it?
Well, they shouldn't. We talked about this last time. Why should they take offence that I don't believe in their God or any other God? And I'd say to them, you know, tell me the reasons why you don't believe in all the other gods, and that's the reason I don't believe in yours. And I've got nothing against people believing in God at all, you know. In fact, if it, you know, did make you a kinder person, if you only did good things in his name, then great, you know, but there's the rub. It's when I see some of these religious fundamentalists saying that they've told their 5-year-old children that if they turn out gay, they will burn in hell. That, to me, is child abuse. That's nothing to do with religion or spirituality. That's child abuse. So That's why I'm passionate when it comes
What do you
to
think
that.
of the...
No, America's fantastic. It is the land of opportunity, and there's you know, bits of both cultures that I love and hate, and the wonderful thing about being between England and America, they are both land of freedom, and criticise them all you want, but know that you're in a place that allows you to criticise it, and that's lucky. You know, and that's great, and that should be cherished. And freedom of speech for me is one of the most important things that you know, discovered. I'd fight for the right of it. And even though I don't believe in God, and I don't believe, you know, unlike most religions, I treat all religions the same. I think they're all wrong, not morally wrong, but I don't think there is or could be a God. But if someone said we're banning religion, I'd march to not have it banned, because it's your right to believe what you want, and it's your right to be wrong, and I'll fight for that right.
I can't agree to the claims by atheists that I'm one of that community. I don't have the time, energy, interest of conducting myself that way. I'm perfectly happy going to see the rock opera Jesus Christ Superstar. I have Handel's Messiah on my iPhone, along with Bach's B minor Mass. That's some of my favorite bits of music. This is what I do, and I'm perfectly fine with that. I'm perfectly fine with having religious people who live all around me. I'm not trying to convert people. I don't care. We're in a religiously pluralistic society. Most of what accounts for the immigration waves into this nation were people fleeing religious persecution in their hometown. And no one will deny the richness of this country as a product of the immigration that unfolded. I'm okay with that. Just keep it out of the science classroom. That's my little dog. Maybe it's a poodle, I don't know, but it's a... So you asked me if I'm agnostic. I'm agnostic. And it's more that I don't really care. I don't want to have to spend all this energy, but I keep getting called out into the boxing ring, largely against my wishes.
The one thing that the Bible isn't, that some people seem to think it is, it's not a biology textbook, it's not an astronomy textbook. The first chapter of Genesis, the first couple of chapters of Genesis are the 6th century BC version of how the world might have started. We've improved on that since. I don't believe that those are God's words. Those are the words of men trying to make the most sense that they could out of the information they had at the time.
You don't buy Adam and Eve either?
No, I don't buy Adam and Eve either. It's undoubtedly a legend which has some significance, but it's not historical.
What about the life of Christ?
Well,
Jesus.
Well, this, of course, is in historic times. It's at the time when the Roman Empire was at its height. And the thing about it is that the only information we have about the life of Jesus is in the Gospels, in the New Testament Gospels. There's no reference to him in any literature outside. There's one dubious paragraph in the histories of Josephus, which may have been...
Is that right? There's no reference to Jesus other than Matthew, Mark, Luke, John?
And, of course, in the rest of the Bible. The epistles of Paul, Acts of the Apostles. Right. But outside the sacred writings, absolutely no mention.
No historian who was not...
Who is not a Christian, let's put it that way.
Not in Bethlehem, no one left any writings of any kind?
None, none. This doesn't mean that he didn't exist. The chances are he did. There were many people at the time who were, what should we say, messianic, who were believed to be messiahs by one group or another. And Jesus survived as a messiah.
Incredible impact for someone who got such little notice at the time from historians, right?
No, that's true, but that's the way sometimes it works out. When Mohammed also received little notice outside of Arabia, and I dare say many founders of great religions were dismissed by people of the time, except those who believed in them as just one more kook